us as elders, we're trying to do what's best to protect them, but if you look at it, we're going forward towards the future, and it's going to be up to you someday to protect these historical sites.
The whole Petroglyph project started with Catherine Wells, who's a property owner on Mesa, Prieta, and she had concerns along with a nonprofit organization called Vecinos del Rio about the petroglyphs and whether or not they were protected. There was gravel, sand and gravel mining on the Mesa, and that became a concern, and the petroglyphs were obviously a target. So Catherine Wells, along with Vecinos del Rio, organized to start recording the petroglyphs so that at least they would be documented and it would be known what was on the Mesa. So that, with that beginning, they started a dialogue with San Juan Pueblo, and together they wrote a grant proposal and received that grant last summer. And the program involves 6 youth and 2 elders from the Pueblo, and oversight from the program director Herman and myself as coordinator to record on about between 60 and 70 acres of land which is privately owned now, and we're working with individual families so that those petroglyphs on their lands are documented, and then that documentation will be shared with the Pueblo and the property owners, as well as the New Mexico State Archaeological Records Office. And so that's a history of how it started.
Well, we have, Catherine, 5 different high schools. We have Espanola, Santa Fe Indian School, McCurdy, Penasco, Taos, Mesa Vista. So it's 6 schools that we've drawn students to this project from. The majority of the time, everything is perfect. That's how good these kids are. We are not redoing the work that they do each day. They capture this, and as I say, it is actually introductory college level work that they are doing. So they learned geology, archaeology. They learned about the different types of petroglyphs. They know the different glyphs and the recording of these in this area. Those kids picked it up so fast, and that their work is more reliable than our college-educated adult volunteers.
Great.
That we're hoping that a bunch of these kids will go on to college because they've shown the aptitude that's required even in 9th and 10th grade to absorb college-level material through instruction. They've just been wonderful. I'd take any one of them on any archaeological project in the future.
So what's the best part of this project for you?
Gaining experience and what kind of work archaeologists do, because I'm thinking of doing it as a career, and I feel that this is an opportunity for me to see what kind of work they do. And I've been in it in the summer, and then now from the training that I got by Richard and Kurt, I can tell whether it's pecked, scraped, or braided, and if they use a metal tool and stuff like that. And I think that's neat, and it's valuable information to me for the career that I want to do when I'm older.
I was selected by our Councilman Agoyo to help head this Petroglyph project back in, I believe it was maybe 97, 98, around then. And my main job there, my main purpose was to kind of oversee and guide the youth, as well as kind of try to interpret, what the petroglyphs meant, or what they were trying to, what kind of a message they were trying to convey.
The way the people have recorded the rock art, they've all Describe this as Rio Grande style, and they say the Rio Grande Pueblo style of rock art dates between 1300 and 1600, and basically they're saying if it stops at 1600, then after the Spanish arrived, that your folks no longer made the images. And this is showing, you know, by picking up and noticing that a lot of these images are cut, framed with metal tools, it shows the continuity of the tradition. It didn't stop with the arrival of the Spanish. It says something about how the people from San Juan and Fiogi, you know, were still coming up here and doing what they needed to do.
And that's one of the advantages of this project, is that it builds both self-confidence and self-esteem. They start out knowing nothing about this stuff, and by the end of the first week, why, they are able to do the recording at a level of our well-educated adult volunteers.
You can see on this figure here too the problem with the vandalism. You get the bullet holes. Somebody was using it as a target and shooting at its head.
I mapped it
Right
already.
there.
So let's put in all this stuff.
It's been
too.
hit twice.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
This is really a problem that we have out here, the loss of this kind of artistic representation.
How do we know when these kind of things are happening, or
They're happening today.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the property right next door we recorded last year, and until a couple of years ago there was a spiral series of circles that we call a sun symbol.
And it's gone?
And it's gone. And in its place is that, a hole where somebody just took it away, put it in the back of their truck and headed down the mountain.
Actually, that's why we started doing the petroglyphs, so that we can find out where everything is before, because on another part of land, someone had started already moving, clearing to make like a home there. And they have there's just like a big straight pile of like rocks, and then you can look there and it has all these petroglyphs there. That's why we first started the project, so that we could find out where everything is and what everything is.
Let me mention that that we had concern about what we're doing now, dating back to 1987 to 1990. And during that period of time, I was chairman of the All Indian Pueblo Council, and it was brought to our attention that there was a wealth of information, almost at least 17,000 or more petroglyphs on the West Mesa in Albuquerque, and that people wanted to preserve that. Those petroglyphs were being vandalized, and as a result of that effort, we prepared this poster that we took to Congress, asking them to set aside that particular area, which is now known as the National Petroglyph Monument. And we tried to include at that time funds to do a study of what we're doing now for this area. But those funds were never appropriated, and now, you know, many years later, through the interest of Catherine and Vecinos and others, we're now getting involved at a much lower level than the National Petroglyph area. And so maybe at some point in time that there might be some kind of set aside for what we're doing. So we're at the forefront of, you know, something bigger here, I think, in terms of maybe doing something similar to what's been done in Albuquerque.
To have people become educated about their own property, so they're like Catherine, they become a cultural steward of their own property, and they become protectors of this stuff. And that's really important, because ultimately we're recording this stuff to find out what's here and to learn something about the history, but in the long term we depend upon the citizens to protect this stuff, because it is a very fragile irreplaceable resource.
The steps involved in the process are you have usually 2 or 3 team members, and there's a mapper who, on this sheet right here, they record things like Craig took the measurements, the height, the width, and the above ground level of the petroglyph. You'll also take a GPS reading. That's the mapper's job, so you know the location of the petroglyph, and then you kind of work as a team. The recorder then has a different sheet where they take some of this information, the height, the width, the AGL, and the GPS location, and repeat it on that form, as well as the photo number and the locus letter. So then the recorder also gives it characteristics as far as like repatination, if it's heavily repatinated or lightly, and there's grades between, whether it was pecked or scraped, the method that was used to draw the petroglyph. And they also give it a category, and we have like 4 sheets of different categories that have been created, and these are the same categories used at the Petroglyph National Monument, so our databases will be compatible and searches can be done and queries on the same kind of category system. So we also give it a category. And any comments, like if there's been vandalism, if there's been lichen encroachment, or additional drawings on it, like if you see a rock with several footprints, for instance, then you would say that's a multiple. So under additionals are things like vandalism, lichen encroachment, to kind of tell the age of when the petroglyph was drawn. Then the next step is also then for one of the team members to take a digital photograph. And this mugboard is used with the section number, which delineates the landowner, then the section within that landowner's parcel, and then the photo number, which is also recorded on these sheets. So then all of it will be linked digitally and through an ArcView program, which is a mapping program, so you'll be able to see petroglyphs spatially, and then you'll be able to hook into a digital photograph as well.
So we're going to enter some data into the computer, and here's all the stuff: the recorder, the photographer, the mapper, the landowner, the site, and the section, the date and stuff. And all we're doing is just entering it into here. Okay, and it's 046477. And these are the numbers, which makes it have a dot where the map on the map is. There it is. You set. It's right here. Zoom in. And they're there. Here's a picture of that.
Well, working with the students, there is a satisfaction of watching them develop their skills and working with them. Just, I mean, I'm a retired university professor, and it is, it's an enjoyment watching them grow. And that's part of the satisfaction putting this kind of volunteer time in. Is appreciating their personal growth and seeing how quickly they grow. They've learned that this is for real, and they've learned that what they are recording is a record for the future. That we are not going to have time ever again to go back and redo what they're doing. That they gain the appreciation that what they are doing is contributing to the history of northern New Mexico and Mesa, Prieta in particular.
Each